core principles for building wealth and personal transformation. Here's an idea that changes everything. Wealth and success aren't a lucky break, and they're not gifts from chance. They're outcomes. Direct outcomes of specific mental and spiritual laws applied with intention, repetition, and discipline. That's the heart of what Napoleon Hill taught, and what books like Think and Grow Rich are really trying to get you to see. Real change starts on the inside, always. And since you're here with me, hit the like button. It helps this channel reach more people who truly need this message. Most people spend their lives trying to fix the outside, their paycheck, their circumstances, their opportunities, their season. But the point here is different. The outside changes in a lasting way only when the inside changes first. And that means mastering your own mind, especially the part most people ignore, the subconscious. Think of the subconscious as the quiet architect of your destiny. It doesn't argue with you. It doesn't debate whether your thoughts make sense. It doesn't judge whether a belief is good or bad. It simply accepts what you repeat with emotion and conviction and turns that into patterns, behaviors, decisions, and eventually, your reality. And there's a time when that architect becomes especially receptive, the moments right before sleep, when the noise of the conscious mind gets quieter, when resistance drops, when you're in that in-between state, half awake, half drifting off. Whether you realize it or not, you're programming your future in that window. The problem is, most people waste that sacred time. They fall asleep thinking about worry, fear, regret, confusion, anger, and without meaning to, they're giving instructions. They're telling the subconscious, create more of this. And it does. If that's happened to you, drop a comment below. What's the thought that most tries to take over your mind right before you go to sleep? Now, successful people do the opposite. They use that same time on purpose to reinforce their direction, strengthen identity, and install beliefs of abundance, certainty, and personal power. One simple but deep practice is this. Choose one clear, specific sentence that represents the identity you want to embody and say it out loud with emotion and faith every night, until it becomes internal truth, until it becomes, this is who I am. And if you know someone who needs to hear this, share this video with them. Sometimes one message like this arrives at exactly the right moment. Here's a principle many people misunderstand. Autosuggestion isn't shallow, positive thinking. It's not repeating nice phrases with no feeling. Autosuggestion is a disciplined process, repeating specific statements with emotion until the deeper mind accepts them as reality. Because there's a law behind it. What you repeat consistently becomes permanent. Repetition becomes habit. Habit becomes identity. And identity becomes destiny. Repetition is the chisel that shapes the person you're becoming. That's why statements that start with, I'm the kind of person who, are so powerful. They don't beg for results, they install a self-image. And self-image is the root. What you do, what you tolerate, what you choose, what you avoid, grows out of that. But there's a second pillar this message emphasizes again and again. A definite purpose. There's no lasting wealth for the person who lives in maybe, someday, we'll see. Life doesn't respond with power to vague wishes. Life responds to clarity. You need a definite major purpose, a target, a direction. Not just, I want to be rich. You need to write it down, the exact amount, the timeline, and what you're willing to give in return. Because wealth isn't just about receiving, it's about becoming valuable. And if you want content like this every week, subscribe to the channel right now. because this is where we focus on real transformation. Practice, direction, consistency. That purpose should be read out loud twice a day when you wake up and before you go to sleep. It should become the filter for your decisions, your thoughts, and your actions. It works like a magnet, pulling in people, opportunities, ideas, and resources. More than that, it separates the person who drifts through life from the person who takes command of their direction. Now let's talk about something people often romanticize: faith. Here, faith isn't passive. Faith is an active mental state that you build through repetition and action. It's that inner certainty that your goal already exists in the invisible realm, and you're aligning your steps until it shows up in the visible world. And when faith is present, it becomes the antidote to fear. Because fear and faith can't sit on the throne at the same time. But faith without persistence is just motivation. Persistence is the bridge. It's what keeps you moving even when the results haven't shown up yet. Temporary failure and resistance are part of the process. The real test is simple and tough. The true measure of a person isn't how they feel on a good day. It's how they persist on a hard one. And persistence needs the thing that turns dreams into something tangible: organized action. A dream without a plan is just an illusion. This message is direct. Plan your nights. Decide the specific actions you'll take tomorrow in service of your major purpose. Execute with discipline. Review, adjust, correct course, but don't stop. So how do you multiply your power? Through environment and alliance. The mastermind principle says that when two or more minds join in harmony for a common purpose, a third intelligence is formed greater than the sum of the parts. Ideas show up, solutions appear, doors open that you might never have seen alone. That's why building relationships with focused, principled people isn't just networking. It's a destiny strategy. This message also brings up a more advanced concept: sexual transmutation. In simple terms, it means redirecting the strongest emotional energy human beings have, creative energy, into achievement, creativity, and wealth building. Instead of being wasted, that energy is channeled to fuel ambition, courage, persistence, and even genius. It's energy, and energy is going somewhere. The question is, where are you sending yours? And then there's a critical point: controlling your mental environment. Your subconscious is constantly influenced by what you hear, what you read, what you watch, the conversations you keep, and the people you spend time with. Letting in negativity, constant criticism, doubt, or empty entertainment is like poisoning the soil where wealth is supposed to grow. A person who wants mastery becomes a gatekeeper of the mind. They deliberately choose influences that lift them up, inspire them, and reinforce beliefs that build rather than beliefs that destroy. But even with purpose, faith, planning, and environment, there's a quiet enemy that takes many people out: the 6 ghosts of fear. Fear of poverty, fear of criticism, fear of illness, fear of losing love, fear of old age, fear of death. These fears can be unconscious, but the effects are real. They paralyze action, corrupt thinking, and attract the very conditions you're afraid of. The instruction here is to confront them, name them, and actively replace each one with an opposite belief, affirmed with faith. Where there's fear of poverty, install abundance. Where there's fear of criticism, install conviction. Where there's fear of failure, install decision. And this is where identity building comes back as a method. Night after night, identity statements overwrite the old self-image. I'm the kind of person who acts decisively. I'm a wealth creator. I keep what I build. Over time, the mind stops merely wishing and begins recognizing, I'm someone who makes things happen. And in the end, this message lifts the entire pursuit of wealth to a higher level. Legacy. True wealth isn't only money. It's who you become to deserve, sustain, and multiply what you create. It's character, it's principles, it's freedom. It's what you pass on to the next generation. Someone who gets rich only for themselves can lose it all. But someone who builds wealth to serve, create value, and lay a solid foundation builds something that crisis, time, and setbacks can't easily destroy. Service shows up here as the highest law. Money flows to the person who delivers more value than they receive in payment. When the motive is freedom, contribution, and legacy, something bigger seems to cooperate, and wealth becomes a blessing, not a burden. And if this video is making sense to you, don't forget, hit like, comment, share it with someone who needs it, and subscribe to the channel. That's how this message reaches people who are right at their turning point. And the conclusion is straightforward. Knowledge without application is useless. Nothing changes because you understood it. It changes because you did it. This message calls you to stop delaying. Stop waiting for the perfect moment. Stop waiting for total confidence. Action comes before confidence. Action creates momentum. Momentum builds faith. And faith activates the laws of success. So the journey starts like this, simple and serious. Write your definite major purpose today. Create your identity statements and repeat them every night. Plan each day in service of that purpose. Guard your mind from influences that weaken you. And take action immediately with persistence, no matter how you feel.